Hey guys, West Coast Taco here, and welcome to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today, guys, I'm here at Toyota of Escondido to walk the lot, take a look at the inventory, and discuss one of the biggest questions I think many of us are pondering right now when it comes to Toyota. And the question is, are they still worth it? Is Toyota still the go-to manufacturer for vehicles? Are they still the leader in dependability, reliability, and durability? And I want to dive into some of the things we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks and just kind of some interesting trends I'm starting to notice. But starting off here, guys, 1958 Land Cruiser, my first time seeing one on the actual dealership lot. I really doubt that 60 grand is what they're going to sell this for. I couldn't find another sticker on the vehicle, and I went on the website. It said to ask the dealership for the pricing. I'm assuming this either just sold or it's either still for sale, but I'm going to guess that they're going to want at least close to 70 grand by the time it's all said and done for this vehicle. But guys, throughout this whole process, I've kind of taken a little bit more of a telescoped view. You know, my point of view has been a little bit more distant than maybe someone who's actually buying one of these vehicles right now. And I am not in a position where I'm trying to buy a new Toyota. I'm very happy with my third-gen Tacoma. Don't plan on buying one of these newer platforms that Toyota is pushing out anytime soon, if ever. And I would really like to know and hear from those of you who have bought the third-gen Tundra, the fourth-gen Tacoma, and maybe you've already bought one of these new Land Cruisers. What are your thoughts about this Tundra recall that we've been seeing and hearing so much about? You know, when you buy a Toyota, or when you used to buy a Toyota, I should say, you know, the thought of having a large recall isn't usually something that comes across your mind. And I mean, maybe when you're buying a new vehicle in general, it's not something that's really on the forefront of your mind unless that vehicle manufacturer has a history of recalls or issues with certain vehicles. But, you know, we used to be able to buy Toyotas and, you know, you might get a recall for an airbag or a seat belt or a hose or a cable or something really minute, something just kind of really like, okay, whatever, like I get it. I'm going to bring it in and it takes 5 minutes to get done. I take my vehicle back. But guys, we're seeing these recalls not only affect very important pieces of the vehicle, like the actual engine and transmission, which are the most, in my opinion, most important components of the vehicle. But we're seeing people get affected because now it's really hitting their resale value. In fact, it's hitting them so hard in some ways that I've heard stories and am seeing people talk about how Toyota won't even take their Tundras back. They won't let them trade them in. Toyota's essentially saying, no, thank you. Now, when you have a vehicle manufacturer or dealership or multiple dealerships that are saying, hey, we don't want the truck that we sold you back. We don't even want you to trade it in for you to trade in something else. Like, we just don't want it. That to me is a huge red flag. In fact, that's like an understatement. I mean, that is just a huge sign that there is something seriously wrong with where Toyota or where vehicle manufacturers are just headed in general. I mean, we saw Ford also. I don't want to just, put Toyota on the pedestal, but Ford made a huge recall for their F-150s just last week as well. Over 500,000 F-150s are being recalled for transmission issues. And to me, guys, when you start dealing with those components in a vehicle and you start hitting people's wallets and their investments are taking a hit, that's a huge problem. That's actually that's a new level of problem. That's no longer right. That's no longer fair, in my opinion. Like, we all take chances. We all do the best we can for the most part to do our due diligence when buying something, and we do our research to make sure that we're getting something that is going to, fit our lifestyle, fit our needs, but also, most importantly, be a safe investment that we can, either have a good resale value in or just, keep some equity in the vehicle when you buy it. And Toyota's always been known for holding their value very well, from their sedans to their trucks, SUVs. They've always been, without any question, probably them and Honda have been like the top resale value vehicle manufacturers. And I'm looking at these prices for the Tundras, the Tacomas, the Land Cruisers, and now these new 4Runners are going to be coming out here soon. And I just can't help but really wonder, guys, is Toyota worth it anymore? If I was in the vehicle market, if I was looking to buy a vehicle right now, whether it was a truck or whatever, Toyota used to be my number one manufacturer to look at. But now they probably wouldn't be my first, and I would be pretty reluctant to go with them on almost anything. And that is just because of what I'm seeing with their newer platforms. And I get it. There's a lot of emissions and EPA regulations and just things that the government is pushing down upon Toyota that is requiring them to do things a certain way. But I also don't think that it's 100% the government's fault and that Toyota is the victim here. I think Toyota could do a lot of things differently, and I think they are trying to benefit as much as they can as well, and then also push the pricing up as much as they can to even benefit themselves even more. And I really think at the end of the day that if the vehicle manufacturers really teamed up together and pushed against some of these regulations, I do think we would be seeing a different outcome. And I do think we'd be getting a much better product from these manufacturers. The problem is that what does it take? What does it take for vehicle manufacturers to push back against such a great force? What does that look like? We don't know yet, but maybe we will. I don't know. At the end of the day, as it's affecting the pocketbooks of these vehicle manufacturers, as people are no longer coming out and buying these new platforms, that's going to affect their bottom line. And when bottom lines get affected, things start changing really quickly. I don't care what people say. When bottom lines get affected, that causes people to relook at their strategies, relook at their products, relook at what's going on, and at some point, something's going to have to give, right? I mean, it only makes sense. Or manufacturers are going to end up going bankrupt. I'm not saying we're there yet. I'm not saying this is like a doomsday prep video where all vehicle manufacturers are going to go down the toilet. But at some point, something's going to have to change here because people are getting fed up with it. People are not excited. People are getting frustrated. And now people are trying to backpedal out of these purchases. And one of the questions I have for a lot of you guys that recently bought these is, would you do it again? Are you having any issues? How are the dealerships treating you? What has been your experience? Because everyone's experience is different, right? One person might take in their Tundra and say, hey, I want to trade it in. And their dealership saying, great, we'll give you this much, and here's the trade-in value, blah, blah, blah. And it's a great, seamless process. Some of you may have gone into your dealership, and the dealership was one of those dealerships that said, hey, thanks, but no thank you. We've had like 70 people try to trade in their Tundras in the last week, and we just don't want them. So, guys, at the end of the day, I think it's really important to look at where we're heading, not just with Toyota, but just vehicle manufacturers in general. And the question, like I said, for today, guys, is, are Toyota still worth it? Are they still worth putting your money into? Are they still worth, that gamble? Because before, I don't feel like Toyota was really a gamble or risk. But now I feel like they are a huge risk, and I feel like there is going to be a lot of recalls on the Tacoma. I feel like there's going to be a lot of recalls on the new Land Cruiser, and I think there's going to be a lot of recalls on the 4Runner. And like I said, I understand that recalls are a part of owning a vehicle, and I understand that recalls are a part of a new line, of a new platform. But when you're making recalls that are being, this publicized, and they're being this great in regards to the components of the vehicle, like the engine, the transmission, when those things are being recalled and the resale value of that vehicle is getting hit, it's really affecting the customer's pocketbook. And to me, that's just not fair. It's not fair that someone goes out and buys a vehicle, buys a brand or a vehicle from a manufacturer that has a great reputation for being reliable and dependable, and now they're taking the hit because of a subpar quality of either, material, craftsmanship, just whatever it is, maybe a little bit of everything. To me, that is a problem, and I don't think it's right. And I think that at the end of the day, I don't think Toyota's worth it anymore. I don't think a lot of these vehicle manufacturers are worth it anymore, but you have to buy a vehicle, right? You have to get something. So what do you buy? A used vehicle? There's got to be a balance between, you've still got to buy a vehicle. We still need to get from point A to point B. And I think a lot of people right now are really starting to look back at these naturally aspirated V8, V6, and even the 4-cylinder options before the turbocharged platforms came in. Because if I go across the street here in just a brief second, there's still a TRD Pro 2020-21 sitting there. I have no idea what it costs. There was no price tag on it. But I see a lot of people really giving me positive feedback on their older Toyotas and saying they're never selling them, they're never getting rid of them, they will repair them, they will do whatever they need to do to keep them running, but that Toyota and other manufacturers have really lost their attention because of how complex not only the system and how cheap and how plastic and how just poor quality everything seems, but now the recalls, there is no resale value to be had in a lot of people's opinions. So I want to hear your guys' 2 cents. I want to hear your thoughts. What are you guys doing? What are you thinking? Guys, is Toyota still worth it? Let me know.